back to It's Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got a video today from Sydney Watson. She was actually the woman that was on the far left on that Vice panel that I posted a couple days ago. This is actually her take on what happened and a lot of the things that got cut out and things like that. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get to the chow. It's chow time. So because she's white, she can't say anything? Does she have to be white and also have no legs like that other lady? Or, you know, some other oppressive type thing that's also attached to her for her to be able to speak, or what? It's like freaking... it's like handicap Olympics or something.
Looks like this. What are you, a Batman villain?
Sounded like one. If the Joker
Hi, my
was
name
a
is
woman.
Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And hell it is indeed. Now, for those of you who don't know, a couple months back I flew to New York to participate on a Vice panel about feminism, and that video recently dropped. And if you haven't watched it yet, I will link it in the description, so as per usual, you can suffer in your own time. Yeah. Fun fact, this is also the reason I was in New York, which led to me being on the flight where I became the meat in the human sandwich. And if you don't know what that situation is all about, I will link some things in the description box as well, because it kind of sounds like you too enjoy suffering. Anyway, if you've been here a while, you will know that I have done many panels and discussions and debates with all sorts of people, including feminists, about feminism. And most of these, most being the operative word, have been overall positive experiences. They're not ones that I look back on and want a memory hole and then bury in the backyard like a serial killer. I hadn't, however, worked with Vice before. So when they reached out and they said, do you want to participate on this panel? I genuinely thought, yep, that sounds like it could be cool. I also get asked a lot, I mean
Vice is a pretty big channel, so.
A lot. Why I even bother doing these things with these openly leftist outlets, because there is a chance that they will deceptively edit, there is a chance that they will do things maliciously, and people are right about that. And I will answer that question in this video a little bit later on. But I do want to note that of all of my experiences doing panels and discussions like this was one of the most unhelpful conversations I have ever participated in.
I can agree with her. I mean, the one that was all the way on the right, Illy, man, that person needs to get their facts straight.
Is this
That lady also needs to calm down.
how they summon the spirits of oppression? No, just demons? Oh, that makes more sense. I say this was unhelpful for so many reasons, and I have so many thoughts about this whole thing, but for the sake of brevity, I'm going to condense my thoughts, so sorry if I don't get to all the things in this video. Regrettably, a ride on this here Hell Gondola can only be so long. Hello, it is me, Sydney from the future. I forgot to add, and I think it's important, that before you once again board my Hell Gondola, although that being said, you are already aboard the Hell Gondola. Let's hear from today's sponsor, Coffee Brand Coffee. So my friend Jeremy from The Quartering started a good friend of mine, and he's always supported me, so I would love for us to be able to support him back, and you guys get some really great coffees and teas out of it. So click the link in the description or head over to coffeebrandcoffee.com, use promo code SID for a discount, and enjoy the coffee. I think first and foremost, most of the people who were on this panel were not friendly.
No, they were not.
And I don't believe that they were there to exchange ideas or have a good faith conversation.
No, they were there to fucking destroy other women. That's what I saw.
And when I say that, I need you guys to understand that we filmed for maybe 4 or 5 hours
That's a
on
long
the day,
ass time.
Maybe even more. I don't know. It's all blended
And they
together
condensed
at
it
this
down
stage.
to 40 minutes?
So the 40 plus minutes of Vice content that you see now has been distilled from hours of footage. So the majority of what these people had to say was cut, and they still come out at the end looking unbelievably not nice. So I want you to think about how bad that was on the day. Ugh. So before I even got to New York, I sat down and watched the same panel on feminism that Vice did a couple years ago. And my takeaway from that was everybody on that panel was respectful, they were very polite, and the conversation, even if I didn't agree, was...
I think it was less radicalized back, a few years back. Nowadays, with the transgender issues and things like that have really came up to light.
Some of the things that were being said was a good conversation overall. And I think, if I'm being honest, that kind of set the tone for my expectations of my panel. You know, I guess I genuinely and maybe stupidly thought, great, this is what Vice is going to try to do again. I was deeply and inherently incorrect. For those of you who follow me on Twitter particularly, you'll know that I can be a bit spicy. And by spicy, I mean the Overlord of Hell. But in these real life situations, and especially with regard to this panel, I don't go into them expecting a smackdown. I wanted to listen and be respectful and have a conversation. And I say that not expecting to have my mind changed necessarily, but I'm always open and happy to have a discussion, a fruitful.
This is what I don't think a lot of people do. The way she's kind of going about it with, yeah, you might not change your mind, or the likelihood of you changing my mind is very low, but I will hear you out. You know, I do want to understand where you're coming from and how you're understanding the world. So,
discussion. Not whatever the hell this was.
Means there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
Pearl owed her ass right there. Trying to fucking get her with the pretty privilege, and freaking Pearl's like, oh, thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted.
If we're going to talk about pretty privilege, can I just note how Vice did me so dirty with this thumbnail? Like, who signed off on this? If you're gonna use me in a thumbnail, I insist you use a thirst photo, like the internet wants. Only I can post a squish face. The disrespect.
It is respect what you are saying.
Oh my god. That statement was so unintelligent.
Are bad.
So people have talked about
Instead of sameness, it's fairness. I don't understand that. I really don't.
to engage in society.
It's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's
But
never
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you've projected this like capitalist ideology on every woman.
It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very.
It's funny that she says that we project this capitalist idea in front of all our. That's what feminism does. It tells you guys to be corporate slaves. It's telling you to be, you know, capitalist fucking slaves. What the fuck?
Very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what? So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my feminism includes ability. It includes.
Her feminism includes ability and other shit. Fuck.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah!
Just that Ellie person saying, hell yeah, we do, really turned me off right there. Like, you're not, I don't want to be like canceled or anything, but like, I don't think you belong in this group the way you think you belong in this group.
I think this is just the face of me being done. I don't know about the rest of you, but I walked away from this panel on the day thinking that the entire state of not only conversation has regressed, but ideology. Because a lot of the views that were being espoused are so far removed from reality, at least from my perspective, that I simply cannot find common ground with these people. Not enough to have.
Oh, it's not just her. I couldn't really find any common ground with everybody except for her and Pearl. Everybody was just so far out of it.
Have a meaningful conversation, and certainly not enough to work towards the same imperatives and initiatives, because what are you doing? I did mention this at the end of the Vice video, but I think this is a good representation of why feminism is dying. It has been cannibalized by leftism, the transgender movement, and I'll add here intersectionalism. I don't know.
I don't even know what intersectionalism really is. I've been hearing it a lot through these things, and I'm too lazy to be looking up something stupid like that, so.
I don't know if that's a word. Intersectionality. Which likely explains why feminists on the panel couldn't stick to the topics surrounding feminism.
Yeah, is it like just adding as much things as you can to the feminist train? Is that what that is?
But instead endlessly diverted the conversation towards completely irrelevant points.
Yep.
Most of which,
That's
like
what they
I
did.
said, got cut because if they'd kept them, no one would know what the heck was going on. This was one of my biggest issues with this panel. It didn't feel like a discussion about feminism and female issues. It felt like a struggle session.
Right? That's exactly what a lot of our comments said. You know, a lot of the viewers said, like, yeah, this was literally the struggle Olympics. You know, like, who is the more special snowflake with the most rigidest possible? No, I'm the special one.
Which is why in the final edit, about 14 minutes in, because like I mentioned, so much of the original footage was cut, my statement here might seem a little out of place, but for context, at the time, there was so much bickering happening. People were going on irrelevant tangents about
Sucks we didn't get to see
unrelated
that.
things. Jingle Jangles over here had...
Seriously, what is up with her shirt? Like, as I was watching the last video, I wanted to say something about it, but like, fucking Sydney calling her Jingle Jangle though.
told us at length about her parents being refugees. She also went on a bizarre rant asking us why we aren't discussing other countries and other countries' issues on this panel. The panelists were fixated on their own personal struggles, intersectionality.
This is another thing that a lot of feminists and a lot of women bring up. They always bring up other countries. Oh, like, oh, what about this African country here? Does that affect us in any way? Or this discussion? Why did you bring it up?
And calling attention to their race or disability or whatever. So many sentences were started with, as a, fill the blank.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, as a black woman, as a disabled, white, chubby woman.
It was not terrific. I'm not a fan. I do have to admit it is a little bit weird being condescended to by a room full of people who think that they're the protagonist in a young adult fiction novel. Victimization.
They all
The
did think
Jingle
that,
Jangle
yes.
Story. It's I just remembered this and I'm gonna add it in. We had to raise our hands about halfway through.
I noticed that.
Maybe earlier than that. We had to raise our hands at some stage because the conversation was so chaotic and because the talking over top of each other was so chaotic that we had to raise our hands to be called upon to speak. So there
Like
is that
children.
too. So eventually we arrived at the transgender portion of the conversation. Because there's always a transgender portion. Can't have feminism without some girl dick. Sorry.
I'll give her that one. That one was a good one. That was a good one, Sydney. Good one.
That is not funny. With that being said,
It was
there
funny, it
were
was
two
funny.
trans people on this panel. The one sitting next to me is called Jordan, and while we didn't agree on plenty of things, Jordan was incredibly respectful and very kind.
Yeah, he
the
was.
other trans
Or
person
she was.
is
I don't know how
called
fucking-
Eli Ehrlich, who also tweeted that those of us on the right on this panel are fascists. It's a shame all that HRT can't lead to some originality. What's important here
Sydney
is that
fucking
Eli has
shooting.
a very colored
Shots
history
fired.
with some extremely serious allegations littered throughout. And I will say that I did call some of these things out to Eli's face during the panel, but unfortunately they didn't make the final cut. I wonder why. They
I wish-
actually asked me about my comments at
It would have been lovely to see Sydney fucking tear Eli a new one.
the end, and I was just like, do you not know who you invite to your own studio? Do you have access to an internet? Yeah, I
Right?
mean, we might be fascist, but at least we don't.
Dogs like food that's moist and meaty.
I'm gonna have to bleep that out. Now, the majority of the trans conversation did not make it to the final cut, and I don't actually blame them for that because. But we did get onto the conversation of biological males playing against women in female sports. And because Pearl was, or still was at, I don't know.
She was,
Because
I
Pearl
believe.
has been, or potentially still is, a semi-pro athlete, this was a conversation that was particularly sensitive for her, and she did have a lot to say about the matter. I'm sorry that I keep inserting all these random little notes, but I'm remembering things as I'm talking, and there was one particularly humorous moment for me where Eli and I were backing and forthing about the sports thing, and I basically said, you don't play at the same level that Pearl does, you don't play
There's no way.
similarly.
Look at the size of Eli. There's no pro sport anything that person has ever played.
To what Pearl is doing, and Eli tried to say that the high level of archery that Eli participates in is comparable to what Pearl does. Like, what are you talking about?
Archery? Really? Archery is comparing to like a D2, a D1 athlete. You're fucking crazy. You're fucking crazy.
It doesn't make any sense. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm good. I'm good. I don't know. There's just kind of something intolerable about this social thing that we're doing where we allow non-biological women to shoot down the lived experiences of biological females and then tell us that it's...
That was what I had a kind of big issue with. Like, you know nothing. You don't know the struggles. You just changed over, and you're arguing for your side when you know nothing about it.
It's transphobia when we tell them that what they're saying is nonsense. I also feel like there's a joke in here about mansplaining, but I am not going to walk that path because I don't want to get banned. So back to the point, apparently talking about transgender women in female sports was a very sore spot for the feminists on the panel, which is just really amusing in and of itself for a multitude of reasons.
It's crazy. It's crazy, right? That these women fight for women's rights. And the way they were arguing about the transgender, it blew my mind. Like, you did not care about women's struggles at all. You only cared about the transgender person and or to be inclusive for these transgender people. Like, to be inclusive, you're literally destroying a group of people to be inclusive.
Reasons. But until this point, they had been quite aggressive, and on several occasions I had said to them, there's no need to be this aggressive. Police stop. It's always the smallest ones who are the angriest. Like, what is the air colder down there? What's going on? So as Pearl was relaying her experiences as a semi-pro athlete, the three horsemen of the apocalypse decided yet again to attack her for what she was saying.
That lady in the wheelchair. Does confidence let you walk? Do you have the confidence to walk? Because if you have the confidence to walk, get to it, lady. Because that's all you need. Some confidence. You can do whatever the fuck you want with confidence. Start walking, lady.
Hold on, Minnie.
Sorry,
Eli.
confidence can't
Has to go.
No, she.
Sharing trans misogyny. She literally just shared her feelings about it.
It's not the end of my statement here, which is actually something that I think they've done a lot. Initially, I was like, yeah, I think this is fairly good editing, but watching this back several times, I see now that they're cutting what I'm saying mid-sentence, or they're cutting out the bulk of my point, which is generally unhelpful. You can hear the cuts based on where I'm taking a breath.
Yeah.
Human being confirmed. What these people did to Pearl, and also me in a clip that I will show you very soon, is something that I notice a lot with progressives. And it's basically where they structure their view of themselves with the labels that they use to describe themselves. Basically, they use these labels to describe the many, many ways that they are victimized by society, or the ways that their life is very challenging. On the flip side, however, if you are somebody who responds in kind and tries to tell them about an experience that you have had, they use those same labels that they don't like, to shoot you down and tell you that your opinion doesn't count or your experience is invalid. And they do that, which you've actually seen in this panel already, by telling you that you're privileged.
Yeah, we learned a lot of sign language throughout that video. You know, just how women bicker in general. So,
or that you're white, or that you're pretty, or that you're skinny, or that you're tall, or whatever thing they don't like whatever thing denotes that your life is easier than theirs. Like I mentioned, I got my own flavor of this when Eli and I were backing and forthing about a series of trans topics, most of which you will not see in the final edit because they have cut it out, which in a way makes it look like I'm responding to something reasonably innocuous, and what the moderator says doesn't fit with the context, but here's the clip anyway.
Agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the
Shut up with your stupid no organization is agreeing with you anymore. All organizations change their shit after the one too many person. Leah Thomas, or whatever her name was, made it so all people looked at everything and just like, you know what?
Know how to prove a point while someone's making a point? You just did. Congratulations. You guys are gonna love this. I found you a live action remake of this interaction between Jingle Jangles and me.
Forget it!
Shut the fuck up.
It's sort of funny because once this video went live, Hassan Piker, who just doesn't actually make content, just reacts to things, reacted to this video, and around this same time also told me to shut the F up and called me a baby.
And we're constantly shouted over.
Yeah, look. Now she's the victim. Shut the up, you baby. You baby. You crybaby. Me. We're being shouted over. It's like, what? You just...
You know, when we talk about incels and shitty men and, don't do things, don't be like this guy.
Just got owned, and you had no counter, so then you have to turn around and be like, look at us, we're getting shouted. Like, dude, you've been running. You've been running the gamut, okay? You've been running train this entire time alongside Pearly, and the moment that you get countered out the wazoo, you're like, it's so up. Dumbass.
How do you say stop or stop it in...
Again, don't be like that guy, guys. Like, there's no need to be doing all that shit. It's just too goddamn much.
French.
Eli also tweeted about this, saying that I made false claims, was corrected, and then instead of deflecting, I changed the topic. If I was changing the topic, wouldn't that be deflecting? Do you know how words work? Like, you also know that this has been edited, so I mean, like, congratulations that you're so crazy that even the leftist outlet has to edit you back to make you look less crazy.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, but this is not the own you think it is. And frankly, I'm disappointed. My eyeballs got sore. One of the last things I want to add here is how disappointed I am that it's so socially acceptable to shut us down because we're white. I know some people will disagree with me on that, and that's fine, you're entitled to your opinion, but I personally think it's gross, and I don't think there's an excuse for it. So with that all said, here are some final thoughts about this whole thing. I didn't get to say a lot of what I wanted on the day itself. The bulk of what I did say, I feel like has been edited out, and the things that have been kept, I guess I wish I had articulated better, and that actually goes for the things they did and didn't include.
You know what? I love that. I love that she analyzes it. She knew that she probably could have done better. The things that they put in there, she could have reworded and made something sound better. And like, I like that, to be able to analyze your mistakes, what you did. I'm like, oh yeah, that probably wasn't the best, but maybe I'll do better next time. That's what I think all of us should be doing for almost all aspects of our lives.
But that's definitely the nature of doing things live and unscripted, particularly in this kind of a setting. Towards the end of filming, I freely admit I was definitely starting to lose it, and there's a couple reasons for that, but two of them, one, because we'd been filming for a long time, and also because I was hungry. So I definitely wish that I had pulled out some of the things that had been said about the beauty standards, because some of them were just like, duh. And I also wish that I had said something about the health at every size movement, because that's something that you guys know I feel quite strongly about. They called on me at the end there because I wasn't contributing, because I was completely starting to lose it from hunger and just filming for so long and whatnot. And what I ended up saying was just like, not useful. Glad they didn't include it. Let's just not. Overall, this experience taught me how much conversation has regressed. It taught me that conversation is incredibly challenging and will likely get more challenging as things progress. It's
That's
sort
what
of funny because
That's exactly what I pulled from that panel, that having normal discussions now is even worse than it was before.
2022 was a fairly pivotal year for me in terms of
But then again, I see it pretty often now with Pearl's show. You know, how Pearl handles her show and just all the women that go on there. They can barely have any discussions in there. So
of some of my viewpoints and opinions, which had shifted. And some of those opinions do relate to feminism based on some of the experiences that I've had. So I actually went into this feeling a little bit warmer towards some ideas than I'd ever been before. And I left feeling like everyone is completely insane. Funnily enough, I would actually be very open to having a conversation with any other kind of feminist and basically trying to do this sort of thing, have a panel discussion from both sides of the aisle about why feminism is or isn't needed. And I do think that there are feminists out there who could participate in that, who will not parrot some of the very extreme talking points that we heard on this panel. Lastly, to answer the question that I've got again and again with relation to this, why do I go into the lion's den? Why do I waste my time doing these sorts of things? This is my answer. When events like this go the way that this one did, when a group of people who never hear pushback finally have to answer for their ideas and opinions and they can't do so, so they lash out or they laugh in our faces, people see that.
yeah,
And this is a moment that hopefully will change minds.
I think so. There's quite a few people that viewed my video, and there's a lot of few people that covered the video also, that it's been spreading. So a lot more people are seeing just how outrageous some of the progressiveness is and how so unwilling.
It's worth it because this whole thing is about changing minds and changing perspectives. And I will gladly walk into the lion's den if it means giving that a shot.
Kudos
If we never
to you.
give it a try, then we don't have a right to complain about losing. So there you go. This
I 100% agree with her. Like, trying and failing is better than not trying at all, right?
video has actually turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it would be, so count your blessings. Count your little chickens in the basket that I didn't react to this or, you know, to try to dispel some of the wrong things that were said. I hope that this gives you a little bit of background on what was going on the day and perhaps add some context to the contextless video that we all got to watch. And of course, before I forget, Happy New Year to all of you children of the Hell Gondola. I hope you were safe. I hope you made good decisions. Or if you were like me, you were just in bed by midnight. Now, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Jeremy's coffee brand, coffee you won't...
How was that, Chow? Like she said, it added some context to that interview that was kind of tough. It was a little bit all over the place, and now we know there was a lot more. There was 5 hours of footage almost, and they condensed it down to like 45 minutes-ish. So we probably didn't get to hear a lot of the good talking points or a lot of the craziness that they were arguing on the transgender stuff. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. I'll put a link down to Sydney's channel down below also. Send her some support. I'll catch you guys next time. It's chow time.